Good morning, everyone. Here's everybody waking up. Good. Let me start off by asking if there are any questions, any comments or questions, testimonials, anything anybody wanted to bring up with our meeting today?
I had a
Yes, Abby?
if I already had found a family, do I need to just like talk about how I found them, or like it's a family friend, so it wasn't hard for me to ask them, so I don't really know how I need to explain that.
Is this for your assignment?
Yes.
What is the assignment? What was the wording of it? Do you have it in front of you?
Yes. It says, what is your plan for finding a parent of a child with disability who lives with him or her, so you can conduct an eco map and an RBI? Okay.
So I think your biggest challenge would be trying to answer the question in 100 words. So if any of you are in the same boat where you have already found a family, and what I really want to know is how did you know this family? What did you tell them when you contacted them? And so on. Well, I shouldn't say and so on. That's a little vague. How you know them and how you requested their participation in this. You know, what you said about the task, the assignment. And if you don't get to 100 words, I won't penalize you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Maggie?
Questions and concern.
So if I didn't get to 100 words, do you want me to go back and resubmit it, or is that okay for this one?
Was this your, when you answered, was it about your plan for finding a family?
Yes, and I already have my family planned out. It's a really good friend of mine.
So it's more or less the same kind of situation.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to suspend the 100-word limit for everybody on this assignment.
Okay, thank you.
It does mean that your English writing and punctuation need to be especially good because, well, the other way of looking at it is you're presenting less of a target for my editing.
I also had a question.
Yeah, Haley? No, who's speaking? Lee. How many names do you go by?
To Lee Chapman.
Yeah, that's right. We've had this discussion before.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Is it okay? This might be a silly question, but my neighbor has ADHD and he still lives at home. Is that considered is that something I could do a final project on, or would I need to get someone who's,
How old is the person with ADHD?
15.
Yes. So, and it's his parents or his or her. Is it a boy or a girl?
It's a boy, and I was going to interview his mom.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, that's okay. Just making sure, because he's older and ADHD it's pretty common. So I just didn't know if it was something I could elaborate on. Well,
the only thing that's going to trip you up a little bit is if he has ADHD but isn't receiving any kind of supports for that. Do you know whether he is getting?
I think he does.
Okay, then you should be okay.
Like in school and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
ADHD, as you all know, is one of those things that can range from people can function really, really well with ADHD all the way to people for whom ADHD is pretty debilitating and makes life really difficult. So it varies a lot. That's true also of autism, learning disabilities, etc. The range is huge.
I had a question as well, because I have multiple families at home that I can use and that I know, but does it matter kind of age, or should we stick with what are, sorry, here's my dog in case he wanted to say hi.
Yeah, I do.
But does it matter if they're older, or should I stick with early childhood age?
Technically, this course is supposed to be for working with families of children of any age.
Okay.
So I'm fine either way. Yeah, even though my examples that I give in the book and all of that are all focused on early childhood, it's okay for your assignment to be with older families of older kids.
Perfect. Thank you.
At what point or at what like age group are you like trying to cut it off? Because my cousin is 20 and she has ADD, so I was gonna interview my parents because she's had it, or her parents because she's had it since she was a young kid. So like they've gone through it her whole life.
Yeah. Does she still live with them?
Majority of the time, yes. But like, so she's doing most of her college at home right now, not at school.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be a little, and she has ADD. So actually the diagnosis is probably actually ADHD with this attention emphasis. Yeah. Okay. So you remember that the assignment is doing an eco map, which you can do an eco map with pretty much anybody. And then if the person isn't receiving many services, the bottom part, the formal supports, is a little empty, but you know, that can be some people's lives. But then when we get to the more important one, the RBI, when you're going through the daily routines of a 20-year-old with attention problems, but who is in college, you're not going to get a lot of meat out of that. I think it's going to be hard for you.
Okay. I think her little brother has ADHD too. So, or my little cousin has ADHD too. So would that work? I think he's in 8th grade.
Does his ADHD affect their daily life at home?
I think so.
Okay.
I know that it's both, like it's pretty bad for both of them.
Okay. I think it might work.
Okay.
Yeah. And it is about the family. So while she's at home, you know, and you're asking how, you know, dinner time is going or whatever, that would be the family's dinner time. And so the first question in each routine that you ask is, what's everyone doing? Just so that you know who's around and what they're doing. And you probably would want to focus on the younger one for all the EISR questions. Anybody remember what EISR is? Engagement, independence, and social relationships. At each routine, we want to know about each child's engagement, independence. We want to know about the child's engagement, independence, and social relationships. And so you would, Kaylee, you would only need to do that about the 15-year-old, not about the 20-year-old, probably. So okay. Focus on one kid.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Any other questions? Okay, hold on. I'm going to close my door. Oh, by the way, I am recording this, so just bear that in mind as you guys speak. And those of you who don't have your cameras on, we would like to see you, please, if you're dressed.
I'm at work right now. I just have mine on.
Okay, then.
I keep trying to turn mine on, and every time I click start video, it just like says my camera's not working, and I've never had this problem before, so I don't really know.
Is that you speaking, Jess?
Yes.
Yeah, you've got a funny little logo coming on where...
Yeah, and I'm not really sure why, because like the light on my camera, which usually tells me that my camera's on, is working, but the actual camera's not.
Let me have a look here. I don't think I can do anything about it. Spotlight video. No. Okay. Yes, so I am recording this because I'm going to, instead of recording my PowerPoint presentation like I have been doing, I'm going to record this class session and post that for the other lazy bums who didn't join us this morning so that they can see the PowerPoint. Today's isn't very long. It's one of the reasons I'm doing it that way. Although on Mondays, I train people for 2 hours on routines-based home visits, people in providers in Alabama. And we record those sessions. And yesterday, when I went to record the Zoom session for, when I went to upload the Zoom session, the recording of the Zoom session, it said it was going to take over 140 hours to upload. That can't possibly be true. I think Google was messing with me. Okay, I'm going to share my screen now. So here you see, I want to make the picture of you guys bigger. All right, that's better. This coming week's topic is community-based everyday child learning opportunities. So I thought I'd give you a bit more background around that. But before I do that, I want to talk to you about extra credit for this course. Some people, especially if they're having difficulty with writing, that is correct grammar, correct punctuation, and so forth. And really, that's all I'm dealing with. I really don't grade you down on the content on the rubric. If for the English language and the punctuation, it really just is the grammar and punctuation. But some people have already scored low enough in the first couple of assignments that they see that they can't get an A already. And I hate for that to happen because my goal is for you all to have A's by the end of the semester. That's what I would like to have happen, despite what my dean says. Very concerned with grade inflation. So I have created an extra credit assignment. And I've put this on some places. I think I've put it in the latest version of the syllabus, but I'm going to show it to you here. Remember, this is being recorded, and I will make sure that it's in the syllabus and in what for me on Blackboard is called the grade center, so that you'll see, the due date will show up and the place for you to enter the assignment if you choose to do this. If you feel that your grades are looking pretty good, and you choose not to do this assignment, that's fine. So you can add 20 points to your total grade, 10 for content and 10 for English writing and punctuation. So I'm going to continue to emphasize that this is a writing designated course, and so you will get, that's part of the grading. And this is what the content is. Make a list of 10 to 15 things families should request from their early intervention or special education professionals. Focus more on recommended practices because the legal material the system already knows about. So for example, I would not include in that 10 to 15 things something like that they should request an IEP, for example. Because an IEP, once they're referred to special education, if they're eligible, they get an IEP. That's a legal thing. But for example, they should request that professionals ask them what life is like at home. That would be a good thing to include. There are things that, like advice that you would be giving to families so that they really get good family-centered functional help from their professionals. It can include things the system often gets wrong, even if it's included in the law. So for example, let's see, that whole assignment around the parent signature, for example. One of the things that they should request from their special education professionals is the ability to say that they disagree with the plan, or with the placement, or with the services. Now that's included in the law, but most professionals don't tell parents that they have the right to, that they need to say that they disagree with the plan. And so that's why many people think that all parents have to do is not sign the document. And as I've told you guys before, that's not enough. So list of 10 to 15 things that families should request. And so basically, as we're going through this semester, we're talking about a lot of good practices that should be used with families. And those practices really should be, this is an easy assignment. So I will say I need to add this to the requirement that your list should be in complete sentences, because otherwise I have nothing to grade on the English content part, on the English writing part. If you're comfortable with your grade, you don't need to complete this assignment. If you complete it, you will have nothing deducted, and you will have 0 to 20 points added. So if your extra credit assignment totally sucks, the English is terrible, the content is awful, you just don't get any extra credit, but you don't get anything deducted either. My goal is to make this easy enough that you can get 20 points or close to it. Okay, since I will give you your score and feedback, same as always. It's due 1 week before the final project. So you've got plenty of time to decide. And so you might not decide until the end of November sometime, and you start looking, well, like November 20th, because we don't have any more assignments after that. You could look at that point and make your decision about whether you want to complete this extra credit assignment. So I know that students worry a lot about grades, and so let me just stop for a minute and ask if any of you have any questions about this. Okay, well that's good. That sounds like I've described it well enough if you don't have any questions. And so I will, as I said, make sure that this gets in the syllabus and in Blackboard, and I'll probably also just send a separate course message. I do want to ask you guys something, and I need an answer from you. That is, do you, firstly, I think you've told me before that you do not get a notification when I post something on course messages. Is that true? You do not get a notification? I don't know what the head shaking means. Somebody needs to unmute and say, right, that's not true.
We don't get a notification.
Okay, all right. So that means that then you just have to get in the habit of checking course messages to see whether I've sent anything? Yes? I don't like that. So I have been advised to use course messages because it keeps all the correspondence in one place, not scattered throughout my email, as I've told you before. But that doesn't seem really workable because, hell, I forget to go check course messages to see whether you guys have written to me through that medium. So I think I'm still going to use it, but I'll always accompany it with an email posting to you, an email to you saying go check course messages. So at least you get a notification from me. Okay. Lauren, are you trying to say something? No, it's just, okay. Let me go back to this now. So on the syllabus for this coming week, the video is actually this session. And then there's a YouTube for you to watch also. The reading is chapter 3 of the textbook by Dunst and colleagues, community-based. Yeah, I used to work for him. He's one of the top people in the field of early intervention, and his colleagues. And then from the virtual lab school, there is another reading, family engagement lesson 4. Oh yeah. So another reading for you is in the syllabus. I want to talk about these learning opportunities in everyday. The chapter is about learning opportunities in the community, but really Dunst's work has also been about learning opportunities throughout the day, which we've also been talking about here. So let me put my pointer on here. Okay, so 3 key aspects of everyday learning opportunities is that learning occurs throughout the day. And the younger the child, the more that's true. Or another way of putting it is that for children birth to 3, it is absolutely the way they learn throughout the day, not in lessons. Even with preschoolers, even though preschoolers might have activities in preschool and or at home from which they can do some learning, they're still learning all day long. And in fact, that's true really of all human beings in some regards, but learning tends to get more concentrated the more we start basing our learning around abstract content area. So when we're thinking about the concept of everyday learning opportunities, we have to remember it occurs throughout the day. So that's why the routines-based interview, for example, begins by asking the parent, how does your day begin? But then there's waking up time for the child all the way to bedtime. Not that we can get information about every routine in there. And remember that we're talking about routines, because we're not talking about what is your routine. We're talking about the routines of the day. And in every one of those, there are opportunities to learn. So that also means that, especially with young children, parents are teaching their children. They're already teaching their children. That's how come you learned how to talk and walk. It wasn't because you went to school for somebody to teach you how to talk or to teach you how to walk. You already knew how to walk by the time you showed up in the school, probably. You might have gone to childcare, but you know. So parents are teaching their children whether you want them to or not. Very important point. And the best teaching occurs during everyday routines. When this has to do with if what the child is learning is relevant to his or her ability to be engaged, the child is motivated to understand how to do something. And so the demands, good functioning happens when the demands of the routine, that is what a child has to do to participate meaningfully in a routine, matches the abilities and interests of the child. If so one of the demands of a mealtime is to be able to get up into your chair. Well, if the kid doesn't care about eating, is just not interested, or has big food refusal problems or something like that, then he's not going to get up into his chair. And so there's a mismatch between the demands of the routine and the interests of the child. Actually, a more common situation about that is remaining in your chair. You're supposed to stay in your chair for the meal. Let's say that's the demand of that routine as set by that family. And the kid is too active and distracted and things like that, then there's a mismatch between the interests of the child and the demands of the routine, and function goes down. If the kid likes eating and being with his family at the mealtime, then the chances are that the demands of the routine to stay in your chair are going to they're matching the interests of the child, so functioning works well. But now let's talk about the abilities, because I said the interests or abilities of the child. Usually, after a child is walking, or able to stand, let's say, or able to sit independently even, a child might be expected to sit in a chair. And I'm not talking about a high chair now, I'm talking about a regular chair at a table, or maybe a little chair for a little table. But if the child has physical disabilities that make it really difficult for him to maneuver himself into a chair, now we have a mismatch between the abilities of the child and the demands of the routine. And so functioning, in this case, getting to the mealtime table, functioning goes down. So always remember that it's called the goodness of fit, the matching the demands of the routine with the abilities and interests of the child. So traditional attempts at learning contrasted with everyday learning opportunities, learning in natural environments, what has been about teaching in lessons. So even in early intervention, misguided professionals would go into the home and do a lesson with the kid. I hate to tell you this, but it still happens in Alabama, although that's what that training is that I'm doing on Monday mornings, is trying to drag our professionals into the 21st century. Parents are only chauffeurs or hosts in traditional teaching. So, for example, you know that in the IEP, there is family needs are not, you don't write goals for families on IEPs. School systems treat children as though they are orphans who are helicoptered in. There are no parents around. Sometimes they recognize that the parents are the chauffeurs and, you know, the ones who bring the kids to school. That's kind of their major role. Or to show up at parent-teacher meetings and to participate in organized events organized by the school. Nothing to do with meeting the family's needs. And also the traditional attempts at learning were that the best teaching occurs with a professional. And in the early years, that is not true. The best learning happens in everyday routines with the natural caregivers. So the role of the professional becomes how to build the caregiver's capacity so that they can be the most effective teachers during their everyday routines. Now, if we're talking about school-age children, things change, obviously, a bit. Because we do have lessons, because you're not going to learn about social studies through everyday natural learning environments, although smart teachers are making it, are teaching students how to use media of various sorts to learn about the content area. So put up your thumb if any of you have ever had a class in what was known as a flipped classroom. None of you guys? Yep. Nick? Mm-hmm. Okay. So in a flipped classroom, you are supposed to go get the knowledge outside of class time. And then when you have class time with the teacher, that's where you discuss the knowledge and analyze it and share experiences and so forth. So that really is capitalizing on the abilities of young people to go get knowledge themselves. And of course, the flipped classroom becomes very important for making sure that that kids or college students, for that matter, don't come across bad information without realizing it, which, you know, that's pretty easy to do because there is so much out there. Any comments or questions at this point? Caroline, does your companion have any questions?
I think he's good. Sorry.
Yeah, no, he looks good. Okay. What I'd like to do, that's all I had, by the way, on everyday learning opportunities, because the chapter is really good. And also your assignment is very, very practical this week. So I'll get to that in just a second. So any questions, anybody, about everyday learning environments, what I've just presented? Okay. You know, I've been giving feedback on writing, and I'm keeping a list now of common mistakes. By that I mean things that are cropping up across many assignments from you guys. And I'm going to deal with about 3 of the common ones on each of these meetings, just as a way of helping you improve your writing. So what's wrong with this? Hold on a minute, I don't even know what's wrong with it. The lack of signature showcases that, oh yes, I do know what's wrong with it. When I'm teaching you about writing, I am actually not only teaching you about incorrect grammar, I'm also teaching you about more stylish or elegant writing, or mostly it's about weeding out the fluff, because somehow many American students and British students actually seem to think that the fancier your language is, the smarter you will appear, when in fact it ends up being the opposite. So we're really trying to cut out the fluff. And you guys, you need to write to persuade people sometimes. You'll also need to write to be able to report on something that you've done in your professional careers, for example. You'll have to do a lot of writing. And so can anybody identify what, how this could be changed to be simpler? Give it a shot. Be brave. Some of you have had feedback on this, so you might be able to spot it.
Is it the use of both authorized and validated? Could you take it down just to one word?
That wasn't what I was thinking about, but let me think about that for a second. The lack of signature showcases that the document is not authorized. Or, yeah, I think I probably would say, what do you mean by authorized or validated? Because they're talking about, this is that assignment about signing the IEP or IFSP. Yeah, possibly, Taylor.
Can you take out that?
Yes, that's it. Often that can be omitted and should be, as in this example. The lack of signature showcases the document is not authorized or validated. My sister at one time was a copy editor. She then became an actual editor, but she told me that she said, I spend half my time taking that's out of people's writing. So watch for that. The other thing that I'll talk to you about sometimes at some point is probably the when you should use that and when you should use which. But anytime you find yourself using that, pause a second, think, do I really need that in there? And if you realize you don't, take it out. Okay. This is the remainder. This has a couple of things in it, actually, now that I'm seeing about this. The lack of signature showcases that the document is not authorized and or validated. So I already corrected it in the previous one. And or is not a construction in the English language. Now, this brings up the issue that a lot of the mistakes that I am pointing out to you, you'll say, but everybody does it. I read it just yesterday, or I read it in the newspaper, or what have you. I'm sorry. People in all walks of life make mistakes or don't use elegant English. So almost always you can just take out the and. But the letter expresses the parent's concerns and can begin the process of receiving an individualized education evaluation or going to court/mediation with the school. It's not the court/mediation. That's not the issue. What do you notice in this that I would edit? Trying to think, looking at you guys, I think I have address this issue with pretty much almost everybody in my 2 sections. Look at individualized education evaluation. What do you notice about it?
Do you have to lowercase it?
Yeah. Do you have to lowercase it? Yes, if you're in my course, you do. But many people do capitalize it, but it's unnecessary. That's the point. Oh, that's not the one. It's the and or that I was addressing. But that's, I think, yeah, overuse of capitals. So here's another one. Yeah, it's the same statement, and it's the overuse of capitals. Just because something has an initialism, like IEP, it does not mean the spelled out version is a proper noun. That is a name. So IEE is Independent Education Evaluation, lowercase. And IEP, Individualized Education Program, Individual Education Program, is also, it's not a name, so it doesn't need capitals. So just because something gets an initialism doesn't mean it gets capitals. And you notice I call this an initialism. That's the correct term for something like this. This is not an acronym. Anyone know what an acronym is? No? I'll tell you that SCUBA, you know, the diving thing, SCUBA is an acronym. Why is that? Does anybody know what SCUBA actually stands for? Self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. That's what it is. And so, but it now makes a word. So if it makes a word, then it's an acronym. But if you say the letters like IEP, IFSP, IEE, and it's not a word, then it's called an initialism. That's probably the most useless thing that I could teach you in this whole course, but it's a great piece of trivia because everybody says, there are too many acronyms here, and I'm the one who says, no, actually there are too many initialisms, which of course makes me win the popularity contest for the day. RADAR, by the way, is another acronym. I don't remember what it stands for, but the RADAR stand for things, and it has now made a word. Okay, I want to do some polls with you. Let's see, how many participants do we have? And if you're driving or at work, you might not be able to participate, but oh, let me go back up here. We have 19 participants. Excellent. I like that. So I'm going to launch the polls now. Hold on. Polls. These are all about what I want to get some feedback from you guys about what this course is like. Firstly, launch polling. How interesting is this course? Not at all, somewhat, interesting, or very interesting. And by the way, these are all anonymous. I don't know who says what. Uh, 88% of you have voted, 17 of 18 people. Good. There's a third section of this course that is for early childhood special ed majors, and so they, of course, find it very interesting. So I've been very interested because you guys come from a variety of backgrounds. One of the sections has primarily HES, HFDC students and communicative disorders students, and then another section has people from all over. Not at all. Whoever said not at all, please write to me and tell me how I can make it more interesting for you. Somewhat, that doesn't surprise me given the backgrounds here. I'm sorry, I should be sharing the results. Here we go. Here are the results. Okay. I'm going to go to the next one now. Hold on a minute. Need to clear this one out. Polls. Why am I having difficulty finding the polls? Oh, stop share results, that's why. Next poll, how difficult is this course? Easiest ever, pretty easy, hard, really hard. Okay. 100% of you have voted, and polling, share results. This surprises me a little bit. It is anonymous. You do not have to speak, but does anybody want to help me explain to me why it's hard? You can claim to be talking for other people. Well, other people have told me it's hard, like that. What's hard about this course? And two of you said it's really hard. So I thought a lot of you were going to say easiest ever or pretty easy. Anybody want to?
I think.
Yes, go ahead. Somebody.
The assignments itself are not super difficult, especially if it's like on major for people that have a little bit of background. I think it's just like trying to figure out grading wise, but I think the assignments itself are pretty easy or doable for the course.
Okay. Yeah, if you don't understand the reason for your scores, go ahead and ask me for the rubric. It's very, very time consuming to edit your assignments for all 57 of you. But when people have asked about their grade, I do send you the rubric so you can see. And usually you will know from my comments to you, like you did really well in this and this. That means you probably got the 3 for those. You really need to work on your English writing and your punctuation. That probably means that that's where you got some 1s. That's generally how I frame my feedback to you. Okay, thank you, Mackenzie, for letting me know that. Any other explanations for why this is hard?
For me, the class layout is very different from anything else I've seen, so it's very difficult to keep up.
What does the class layout mean?
Where all the discussions are. I didn't even know that there was lecture, so I just showed up today, and I feel very behind.
Well, you're probably not that behind. These things aren't. Well, they'll be more noteworthy from this point onwards because I'm actually going to do a little bit of presentation in them. Okay, the class layout. So I think that, to me, that translates maybe to the syllabus. It also translates to the fact that I'm not a Blackboard whiz, and so I'm not using all the bells and whistles that might be on Blackboard. But anyway, thank you, Alex, for letting me know that. Any other reasons it's hard or really hard? Okay. I have one more. And I want to reassure you that these are, oh, here it is. These are anonymous. The instructor. So I tried to think what's a fair way of asking you to give some feedback on me, and came up with kind of a lame question. How easy am I to work with? Really easy, easy, hard, really hard to get along with. They are anonymous. And I won't make you justify your answers on this one. %, 100%. Okay. Share results. More of you said easy than anything else. And 4 of you who actually came to this meeting said hard. So I actually invite you, if you choose to write to me or get in touch with me in any other way. Well, yeah, write to me is probably the way you'll have to do it, to let me know why you perceive me as hard to work with. Okay. And so oh, yeah, I am sharing the results. It is very important to me to feel that that I'm accessible, so that accessible and responsive. So if you write to me, I think some of you have had experience. I'm pretty good about writing back fairly quickly. And so yeah, and my reason for these Wednesday morning meetings is really so that we have at least an opportunity for some interaction, whereas a totally asynchronous course, you know, like last time I taught this, we didn't have these meetings, and I really never felt like I knew any of the students, and they probably didn't feel that they knew me very well either. Okay, stop share results. Okay, anybody want to make any comments on what I've just said? Nope, okay. Here's your assignment for due October 7th, now that we have, we're on a 2-week cycle of assignments. Use your own address and use Google Maps or any other electronic map platform to determine what resources in the community might be helpful or fun for a family of a young child. Explain why these might be beneficial for families. So I'm sure you all know how to use Google Maps. Does anybody need a demonstration? I think I might just go ahead and, yeah, I think I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. This is TMI from an instructor, but so be it. I have put into Google Maps my Tuscaloosa address. And so here you see it. And so this is too small, too close in to start with. So you see campus is up here somewhere. Way up here. There's Snow Hinton Park. Midway is sort of up in there. This is McFarland. This is the
see your Google
Maps. You don't see it?
I can see it.
I can see it.
I can see it.
Who said they couldn't?
I can.
Who?
Lauren, me. I can't see it.
Well, I can't see you either. But you should. Everybody else can see it. Are you on your phone?
No, I'm on my computer.
Oh.
I'm the only one. That's weird.
Hit the right corner. It should say swap screen, like where your like picture is or how you set the.
Oh, I see. I got it. Thank you.
Oh, I didn't know you guys. Well, doesn't matter. So. Yeah, so here is an address, and sorry, it keeps lighting everything up. Here is a park. See, Oviatt Bowers Park. You guys, some of you might know it. So there's a park. So that would be good for a family of a young child. Here's a Dunkin'. That might be good. Let's see, what else is around here? Mercedes-Benz. Dirt cheap. What's that? A discount store. That might be really good for some families. And if I were doing this assignment, I would explain why that might be good for a family. Patton Lake, yeah, but I don't think that, I'm not sure that lake is accessible, and I can't get any more information about it. Maybe Pitt's Auto Repair, that might be, well, no, I'm thinking about families of young children. And then if I zoom in a bit, I get a bit more information. Here's the county health department. That might be important information for them to know. I happen to know that where it says Oak Hill School, right now this is actually the headquarters of the Tuscaloosa City Police. I don't know why that's would be of much interest. I'm kind of glad that they're so close to my house though. Food Distribution Center at Grace Church. Oh yeah, they do have a food camp there. So do you see how this works? So if a family were living here, here are various things that would be useful or fun for the family. When you go into Belk Activity Center and you think, well, what on earth is that? You can always just click on it. Like you can go to the directions, or let me show you. I clicked on it, and so it showed up in the left-hand panel, and I can go find out more about it, including finding their website and saying, oh yeah, this would be helpful. Okay, that's what I intended for you guys to do. I think that was my last slide anyway. Let me just have a look.
Is there a minimum number of locations we need?
Minimum number of resources, community resources? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, like a minimum or maximum or just as many as we can find in the area.
Hold on one second. Let me.
I think you said 15.
No, that's for a different assignment.
Hmm.
You're thinking about the things to tell families that they should request from their professionals, that extra credit thing. No, there is no set number on here. I would be really disappointed if you couldn't find 3. I would have expected more in the range of 5, perhaps 5 things. Remember, it can include some professionals, like I found the health department there. If you had around your address within, whatever area you're covering, a pediatric dentist, for example, that might be a resource. But again, include the fun things. So anything that might be helpful for a family who happen to be living where you are. Or pick another address. Pick some random address in a more impoverished part of town, because you guys are probably more privileged than the average people getting early intervention or special education, just because of the demographics of students at UA, I'm saying that. Also, if your address is a really rural area, you're going to have to go quite far out. So the definition of, how far out you have to go to find anything. So we know rural people have to travel further to any fun or helpful places, whereas if you live in a very congested area, you'll be able to keep your radius fairly small. Any other questions? Just start this up. Yeah, that was my last slide. Okay, well, we've spent 52 minutes. This has been our longest meeting ever, I think. Let me get to stop share. Anything else that any of you would like to say? Any questions you have? Anything? Okay, so I'm sorry I'm not going to go to individuals and ask how you're doing, but I think I need to let you go fairly soon. I have another call coming up in a little bit. And so if you guys don't have anything, we're done.